Well, hello, everybody, again. It's Wednesday night. That means it's time for the Warren Files. Tonight's episode, we're going to call the Bill Show because this is a topic that it's gotten Bill in a little bit of trouble sometimes. Connie, I hear you're big in these Facebook groups too, where people post pictures and sometimes need some explanation.
For sure. I try to gently guide and provide insight and things like that. And sometimes it's well received and sometimes it's just not. But I always try to be respectful, and we're all at different stages. And some people are open to feedback and learning, and some people just really aren't.
Yep. Stephanie, what's your experience with like going on, and because I'm sure you do it too, you go on and correct people, and is it well received?
I usually like to let Bill comment first, and then I'll come behind Bill and be like, yeah, that's right.
I try to explain to people it's not at all like we're trying to discredit you or make you look stupid, or it's not about that. We're actually trying to educate you. Most of the people are asking, can somebody tell me what this is? And then we tell them, and then sometimes they don't like what we have to say. But and I look at it like, if you really want to do this, then you would want to learn what's real and what's not, so that when you capture something that's real, you'll have something good. You'll know it.
Yep. Well, and I showed a video before we even started that, I was going to show tonight because I really thought it was, okay, this one might be real. And I was quickly corrected. So we're not going to show that. No, tonight, though, we are going to go over wheat. It doesn't get talked about enough. We really need to go over how digital photography works, video, IR lighting, pareidolia, that, there's a lot of stuff that I think that it's important that we go over from time to time, because people don't, like I can, like orbs is one of the things that, Bill's favorite topic. It's one of those things where, it's very, very hard to convince people, because they always, well, look at this one, it's, well, no, that's really this and that. Well, no, but check this one out. They always have like a dozen photos on standby, and you're not changing their mind. But I think, so if we go over, like how photography works and things like that, I think also it's worth doing.
It's also, some of the people, you got to understand that they watch all the TV shows, they go on ghost tours, they go on Google, they go on YouTube and all these places. And a lot of places do promote this as real evidence. Yeah. And it probably confuses people, and they kind of get annoyed when we tell them it's not. And, but yeah, it's just that there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't help when, somebody is posting looking for feedback, and you've got a bunch of people feeding into it and saying, oh my God, I see faces, or it's a demon, or I feel that this is a lost soul. And, they're feeding into this. And then when you come in and you try to educate, it's like nobody wants to hear what you've said, because they've been fed by these other people, and that's what they want to hear. I've even seen people who say that they're investigators, and they're posting an obvious lens flare, and they're saying, well, I'm 100% certain that that's not what it is, because I was feeling something at that time. And, it gets to be very, very frustrating.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, have you noticed that a lot of people, after they've had a loved one pass, that they'll snap a photo and they'll have a lens flare or a bug, and it'll look like an orb, and they're like, "Oh, is this my loved one trying to give me a message?"
Right.
I've seen it a lot, especially, and they'll say, 2 weeks ago I had so and so pass away, and I feel them here, and they're like, "Could this be them?" And
Yep.
so it's kind of hard to address those because you don't want to like kind of rain on their parade,
Yeah.
especially
Yep.
when they're at such a low moment,
Yep.
grieving
And you've
for
got,
love.
and like Connie just said, you've got 30 people in there saying, "Oh, that's so sweet. I definitely feel their presence." And then
Yeah.
you come in with, "Well, I'm sorry, that's a bug." And you're definitely you're not the good guy in that scenario.
Well, what I tend to say, I try to say, although your loved one very much may be there, this particular photograph that you're showing is X, Y, and Z. And I
Right.
try to be very gentle about it, because you're not trying to take something away from them, but there's a tactful way to say things, but sometimes it just doesn't matter how you
Yeah.
put it.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
just not wanting to be heard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Well, I
Well-
try to explain to them too that their experience, if they think they feel something, or let's say they were an investigator and they felt something, or something else went off in the room when a piece of dust flew by, it doesn't mean that their experience is being discredited. Whatever they experienced there, I can't comment on. I wasn't there. I'm going by what we know and we can identify, in a picture or a video. It doesn't take away anything else they felt there. Like if somebody said this was at their mother's funeral, and you felt her presence and you saw this orb, I explained to them, I'm sure she's there. I'm sure you felt something, but unfortunately the picture didn't capture anything.
Mhm.
And I actually did, and I've said this before, I did a huge post on a couple of these groups one time, not about what's real and fake on orbs, but about what you say. Giving these people false hope is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because although on one side of it, it might be somebody just looking, "Oh, that is my mother. I'm just happy to hear that." And that's it. But some, if they're grieving, they may go down that rabbit hole going, "Oh, she's trying to contact me. Oh, maybe I should do this. Well, let me get a Ouija board. Let me start
Yep.
trying to talk to somebody." And then that's how they start a problem. And then
Yeah.
they wind up back to us.
And then it's also scary because somebody could prey upon them and be like, "Well, they're there because they have a message for you. Oh, if you're not able to hear it, let me go ahead and communicate that for you. Oh my goodness, they're stuck. Well, I need, $85 to help move them on. Oh, well, this
Yeah.
is going to be more work, so it's going to take another 50. It just goes on and on and on. And these poor people just end up being taken advantage of.
And that's another issue too I see in a lot of these groups. Is you're right, there's 25 paranormal teams in there offering to help or offering to investigate. It's like,
Psychics.
yes,
A lot of
psychics too, yeah.
psychics.
Yep.
Yes, I feel
You
her.
can
And
point
then
them
they-
out too. They'll say, I'll directly message you, or PM me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you can
Yep.
pretty much see them in the
Yeah.
comments.
Yep.
Right. They're going to tell them that was an orb. That was your mother. If you want, I could help you talk to her. And,
Mhm.
there's so many avenues that it
Yep.
doesn't work out. So
Yep.
I just tried to explain, and a lot of people liked what I wrote. And then there was a good handful of people that were just going off on me about I'm being stupid. And, it's people that don't understand anything about this.
Yep.
I like see, this is why I always let Bill comment first, and then I'll come behind him and kind of back him up. Because he made one comment. It was just like, yeah, that's something else. That's the IR light bouncing off and coming back. And she came back at Bill and was like, "I don't know who you think you are and where you got your education from."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Excuse me?" And then she looked him up and went to his Facebook profile because that comment was retracted very fast.
Yep.
Sometimes I don't know what to say. I've had that a lot. I have people going, "Well, who are you? Well, why should I believe you?" And then I nicely, not being ridiculous, I tell them I've been doing this 35 years and I have this education and I had this experience, and and they write back, "Well, I don't care what you have. What does that matter?" Well, you just asked me.
Yep.
What do you want me to say?
I'm just going to start telling people I'm Vatican trained. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what the scenario is. I'm not saying Vatican trained exorcist. I'm saying I'm just Vatican trained. Or photograph analysis.
But what do you know?
Yeah, exactly. Not really a whole lot, but but we'll keep that a secret. I'm just kidding. So I'm going to go play a couple. You sent me a couple
Yes,
videos, so
Kelly
let's show
does.
a couple. Let's show a couple of examples of some of the stuff that we're talking about that all of us see probably several times a day in these groups. And I'm just going to warn everybody right now that we are going to have tech issues because we already had one before we even started, and I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so Bill, this is one of the videos that you sent, so let's all watch this real quick.
All right.
So that's one that we see what 10 times a day.
At
It's
least.
an
similar.
army of ghosts.
Yeah.
Or
Can
in
I
certain
point
shows.
that out? Can I point that out?
Yeah.
As far as now, of course, we don't know everything. We can't say that everything is no chance of it being anything, but we go by what we can determine, with cost of photography and everything. But I can tell you this, in all my years, I have never seen ghosts travel in packs of 20, 40, 100, 200 flying through homes.
Maybe they're dead
I mean,
fish.
I just don't see that happening. I don't know what to tell you.
Bill, did that video have audio with it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because if it had audio, I bet you 100% that the air conditioning had kicked on, and that there was
Yep.
a vent nearby where that camera
Yep.
was, and it just
Or somebody
exhausted
closed a
off.
door or something.
Walked by.
Let's
My favorite.
go ahead.
Oh, wait, one second. I was going to say my favorite is still the people that say, but no, you don't understand. The air conditioner's off. I have no fan. There's no airflow in the room.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
you
always
like
airflow.
a scientific lab.
Or you get the one person that's like, "Excuse me, I don't have dust in my
Oh
house."
yeah.
Right.
Doesn't
Or
mean your
it's
house is
impossible
dirty.
that one piece of dust could have flown by.
Yeah.
Plus your arm, if you were in there, some people are actually filming it. If you go like this, that's enough airflow to
Yeah.
move dust.
Yep.
Nothing heavy, but it's going to
Breathing.
move dust.
Very
Yeah.
breathing. Yeah.
Into another thing too. This is another classic video example that we see often. In the slightest amount of air movement makes these things go crazy. So let's show this video next. Okay, there's the ghost walking under the porch thingy there.
Just so you know, this was actually listed on a news station, and it said that it was UFO lights.
Oh my god. You're
No
kidding
way.
me.
I swear it said UFO lights.
Oh my goodness. That makes the story even better.
Oh yes, it's launching into space now.
Yeah.
Oh, it
Oh,
came
came
back.
back.
It's
Coming
not
back.
moving.
Forgot somebody. And now the little aliens are jumping around the backyard.
Yes, they are. They were jumping off of it. They were like, "We
Right.
don't want to be part of this anymore."
It's the airborne division.
Yeah.
They all just parachuted off.
Yep. So I mean, I think we get the gist of that one. I mean,
And I get it though. People who don't know anything, or maybe just watch a TV show, or just and that captures it, sets their ring off or something like that, and they go watch it. It does freak them out for a minute because they don't understand.
And they think if it's a spider web that they're going to see a traditional web. They're going to see the whole thing lit up. They're not going to see pieces of it or swinging by or anything like that. They don't realize how small these reflections, how the light captures these reflections and reflects off of it like that.
Or they like to come back and say, well, I checked the next day and there was no spider webs there. It's like, I doubt you checked because you thought it was an alien at first. So why are you going to go look for a spider web?
And I also tell them all the time, that's one of the biggest arguments I have when it comes to the spider webs or a spider. They say, oh no, we went and looked and there was no web. Most spiders, especially indoor spiders like that are in garages and some outside too. I have one out in my backyard. They spin their web at night. They remove it before the morning and they hide. So you're not going to see it. Most of the time when you see a capture like that, it's because they were getting rid of the web and there was a piece that broke off.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you get that as it's floating away. But yeah, it doesn't mean, if you don't think so, go back there in the middle of the night, or if the ring thing goes off, go run in there at 1 o'clock in the morning and go see the spider.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
don't
and
see
it's like, is it
spiders.
an alien or is it a spider? Oh, well, there was no spider, so it has to be the alien. Logic.
Baby
That's so
spiders,
smart.
that's how they travel. They cast a
Mhm.
little web and they let the wind carry them. That's how they move around.
Right.
I don't know
Spider-Man
about
does
the
too.
bigger ones. That would be kind of freaky. Yeah. Fine.
And
But
here's
it's
the thing
scary
is,
if you don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not making fun of anybody who doesn't know or,
Right.
but and I understand that there's a learning curve, but the problem is when people are not willing to listen, they're
Mhm.
not open to what somebody else has said based on their experience.
Right.
Nobody's going to say, "Oh, well, I had aliens in my yard and it looked just like that." Well, you had spider, you had spider
Right.
web, you had, you
And
know, um, so that's the thing. People want to hear what they want to hear. And when they're
right.
just closed off to it, then that's not good.
Right.
Thank you,
And,
Andrea.
and
Andrea says
Oh, I
web
didn't.
travel is called ballooning.
So why don't you guys explain? So I've never seen a spider web with lighted dots on it before. So why don't you guys explain why that happens on IR cameras?
it depends on where it is. If it's outside like that and you saw things coming down, there was rain falling in the background. So, or bugs. So it could be a bug caught on the web. It could be dew on the web. Inside, you have the same type of thing. It could be a piece of dust that hit the web. It could be a piece of lint that hit the web. Anything like that. But for some reason, when anything gets close to a CCTV, like a Ring camera or security cameras, anytime something gets close, those are fixed focal lenses. So they focus at a certain length. They don't focus right up. So when something gets real close, it becomes blurry and it makes it round most of the time. A spider will look completely round on a thing unless it's actually on the lens and it's walking, you may see the legs. But most of the time it's a round ball and the infrared lights glow right off of it and reflect back to the camera. You won't see it with your eyes because you can't see the IR lights. But most of the time, that's why. I mean, most of the time it's dew that's on those spider webs because they're mostly outside. I don't know if you guys have anything to add with that.
Could it
Well, and
be
it
how
looks
the web is like attached, like each segment that it's reflecting off of where there's more webbing, like on the attached part? So it could be that
Right.
that's reflecting.
Yeah. It's anything that'll grab that light.
Mhm. and it'll look opaque. It'll be see through because it's so out of focus that's how
Right.
it looks. It won't be able to focus in on the bug like you
Right.
think it would, and so it looks opaque and very, very blurry.
One of the other biggest things with that is people will see a black shadow go by. And if you look at it closely, that is a bug actually on the lens, crawling across the lens. It turns it black if it's like a fly or something like that. When it's that close, it can't focus, and it literally is almost completely transparent, and it looks like a shadow. I saw 2 today on the groups, and it goes right past real quick, and it is confusing if you don't know.
Let's so here again, I'm going to ask you guys to just talk for a second while I find this video, because I got to try to figure out the screen share thing again, which we all know that didn't go very well in the pre-show. But I'm going to show you sent me a bunch of charts of what dust orbs look like, what all this stuff looks like. So let me go grab that video and I don't know, just say something.
All right.
Stall.
Anybody got a joke?
Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah. Let's see. Where is it?
That's
Oh, this-
that's I'll go. One of the things with real orbs is, which they are real, but they're very rare. They're not going to be reflecting the IR lights. They're going to have their own light. They're not going to be floating in packs. You're going to see one. You're going to see it with your eyes. That's kind of the key thing, is you're going to see it with your eyes, not on camera. I know nobody ever that has captured one that somebody could say is an actual orb.
Mhm.
I know people have been doing this longer than me and have never seen one.
So I think I'm ready here.
All right.
Tell me if I'm
I'm
Is
always
this
good to
showing?
kill time.
Is this showing?
No, not yet.
No.
Oh, geez. Okay. So, well, that was a waste of time.
Just
Um,
kidding.
Man, was it showing?
No.
Oh,
No,
God.
no, it wasn't.
So how do I share it? Well, let me. Crap. I feel like a freaking amateur. Speaking of amateurs, one thing we gotta.
Isn't he on the IT team?
Yeah, some dope put me on that team because I have no idea. Okay, so apparently we can't go to this video because I can't figure out how to do
Which
this.
video are you trying to show?
It's one from my desktop.
Oh, yours. Okay.
Yeah.
You
I
have
cannot
to
share
go down to settings and share. Not settings.
Present.
Present and share
Yeah.
screen,
Share screen.
and then you have to select the screen it's on. Make sure you have the sound on,
Select tab to share. This one. Yep.
and then you have to
okay.
put it in.
How do I put? Oh, forget it.
Kind of
It
Okay,
worked.
now it's tech talk.
The ghosts got it. The ghosts got it
Yeah.
because they knew that you were really
Yes.
going to share their secrets.
It's
It
a real
worked.
orb. It didn't want to be shown.
Right? Right.
It worked earlier when I did it. It's not working now. Oh well.
All right.
I give up. I quit. See, this show was so much better when Greg was in charge. Which I just want to real quick. We'll take a little break and talk about that. I don't want people to think Greg got fired or left the foundation or anything like that. Greg actually he's got a really, really cool opportunity that he has to focus on. I can't share exactly what it is, but you guys will definitely know, if this all comes through, you guys will hear about it because it'll be really, really cool. So, but he doesn't have time to do this show anymore because of this other project that he's really focusing on. So that's where Greg went. Well, crap. What are we going to do now that I can't show videos?
Didn't you just say one?
Sing.
Huh?
Just show
Sing.
one.
I know, but that was different. Go. Okay. So let's
was it a
pick
video of?
It was let me see if I can add it to the videos, but I want to get you guys talking about something first. So do you guys want to talk about like how like I guess the mechanics of a camera and lighting and stuff like that, why it does it, like why things are see-through? I mean, you guys talked a little bit about that with the ring cams, but talk about digital photography and exposure and frame. There's a lot of
Okay, I'm not a complete photography expert, but
this is a great show. This is
Right?
No, but
I'd keep watching if I were you, everybody.
I know. I mean, I know how the cameras work, but I don't know if I could go into technical detail of all that. But
I think you can and you should while I'm trying to do this.
Make a diagram.
Yeah, start drawing pictures.
PowerPoint.
All of this stuff that everybody thinks are orbs, like it can be because he doesn't have the things up there. It can be dust. It can be lint. It can be cat, or pet dander. It can be bugs. Yeah, pollen. Everything you can think of is floating around in that air that you can't see. When you have a security camera and it's at night, it's in infrared, in night vision. So, like I was saying before, that light you can't see with your eyes, but it will pick up things like dust and stuff like that and reflect off of it. A camera does the same thing, but when you use a flash, the flash will blast that light out and reflect off of everything around you. That's why if you go on a ghost tour, a ghost tour, and I understand they kind of live off of all these things with what people see and what people experience on their tour, and they love people pushing it out there.
Yeah, you don't want a ghost tour where nothing happens ever.
Not really.
Yeah, no, I understand it, but some of them, not all of them, some of them will actually tell you, we encourage you to take pictures. Most of them will tell you that, but they'll say, make sure you use your flash, because they're not saying that because it's nighttime and you're not going to capture anything. They're saying that because the flash is going to create the orbs. So it's going to make you get that picture of orbs, and it's going to make you post it up there and tag them in it. And it's, it's one of the biggest things. So just, you got to be, first of all, we tell everybody, take, a succession of photos. Take at least 3 pictures in a row of anything you're taking so that you can compare them. Because if you capture a shadow, or you capture some kind of weird orb or looks like a person in the background or something. If they're in all three of them, most likely it's explainable. If it's in one of them, then you have to look more into the photo and see what's going on, that it could be possible. You have to be aware of your surroundings, understand how the camera reflects off of, everything. I don't know if anybody has
Well,
anything
and
they want to
also,
add
I
to
just
that.
want to say that, it's not that all of these ghost tour people are, that they know that they're not really getting orbs by using the flash and that it's dust or bugs or whatever. Some of them really think that it is something. And because that's what they were told and they were taught. And so they've just kind of passed it along to the other people on the tour. So sometimes it's just that they're not educated themselves and that it's not really that they're trying to like pull a fast one on anybody. But, maybe both.
Would you guys say that orbs is more of a thing because we have digital photography now? I mean, back in the day when it was, the Polaroids and we didn't have the
Yeah.
digital photography,
The-
we didn't see the amount of orb pictures that we see today.
Orbs, the term orb came at the birth of digital cameras.
Yeah.
It wasn't called orbs. Back when I started doing this, it was called energy balls, because a true orb is believed to be a solid ball of energy that the spirit is pulling the energy into the room to try to manifest itself. So yeah, back then nobody used the term orb. That came out during the birth of digital cameras. And there's actually, I sent a picture, one of the, what was it, the CyberShot manual for that camera. It actually shows you how to avoid what they called white spots by using the flash and everything correctly.
Which that actually I was able to upload this video. So in that graphic is in there. The problem is I can't pause this. I'd like to pause this on each screen, but when you play, it just plays the whole video clip. So we may just have to play it a couple times, but
I'll explain it after.
Yep, I'm going to go ahead and play this. Each picture only shows for 5 seconds though. So, because like I said, in theory, I was going to pause it, but this is just not going well. What is going on? Okay. So there's some, Bill, talk about this.
Those are moisture orbs. These are pollen spores. These are all things that could be caught by cameras. These are dust particles, and you can see in the diagram, it shows you how the flash compared to the lens. Backscatter is another term for anything like that, even moisture in the air. That's from the cell phone. Again, the same thing. It shows with the flash and how the lens interact. This is from the CyberShot User's Guide telling you how to avoid white spots. These are bugs that your frame rate isn't fast enough on your camera, so it captures them like that. These are all lens flares created by different angles of the light. Textile fibers. Light streaks from long exposure. This is very, very common. Vortexes, same type of thing. Ectoplasmic mist. Yeah, this is smoke, and you get everything from outside like that. The motion blurs. People move their phone. Pareidolia. We'll get into detail about that one.
Yeah. Yep.
There's an example of pareidolia right there.
That's a good example.
Yeah. There you go.
He's happy.
No need to explain that or that one. I always say that's ET.
Yeah. Yep. So maybe let's get into that, because that's another common thing that you see on a lot of these Facebook pages is, someone will take a picture and there's a glass cabinet in the background and 40 people see 30 different faces and demons and all kinds of stuff. So let's chat about that. You guys, do you guys agree? Like, I think, honestly, I think I could probably, so I have a glass cabinet doors right in front of me. I could probably take a picture and zoom in and find something.
You will definitely find something.
Right. Sure.
I proved that in a group one time. They were going back and forth about the face and the leaf across the street, and I zoomed in 4,000 times, and I explained to them that that's not what happens. They don't, spirits don't hide in the leaf across the street, And what I did was went back and forth, and they, will show us something. I'm like, well, I'm not here to show you anything. I'm here to explain it to you. So I said, okay. And I took my camera out and I took a picture in my office at work. Just took a picture of the wall.
Yep.
And I zoomed in and I circled like 14 faces and I put it up there. I go, does everybody see these faces? And most of them were like, yeah. I said, okay, that's my wall. I just took it in my office right now. I said, if you zoom in enough, it pixelates everything, it matrix the picture, and it will make you see, your mind makes you see familiar objects from unfamiliar objects. So it's going to trick you into seeing something. And plus, most of these people, if you're zooming in 400 times on a leaf, then you are looking for that face. So you are going to find it if you zoom in far enough.
Why else would you zoom in on, some of these people? It's like to zoom in and scrutinize everything.
Yeah.
Orbs do not have faces. If that's
Well,
true.
Oh my gosh.
If you snapped a photo and there was something, you wouldn't need to zoom in so much to see it. You would be able to see it as the photo is. We wouldn't need you to zoom in 100 times and circle it for us to tell us what it is and put an outline. One photo that comes to mind is the Amityville house photo. The child peeking out of the room. Somebody was taking a photo on the stairs or near the stairs, so you could see the banister, and it looked like a child peeking out of that room. Now that photo not zoomed in to the point where it was over pixelated and you couldn't make out this or that. You could see a child's face in that photo, and it didn't have to be over zoomed or anything like that.
Right. Yep. And there's another famous photo then that, we could talk about, since this is the Warren Files and it's a Warren photo. Have you guys ever seen it's from the Amityville house, I believe, as well. It's the picture of the moose head, and they say Padre Pio's picture is in that. Have you guys seen that?
I saw it, but I don't remember it.
I think I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it one time. I would have to look at it again to kind of jog my memory.
Yeah, again, if I was computer savvy, I could just go right now and go get it, because I know I have it. But
just pull it up on your phone and then hold it up to the.
No, it's on my computer.
I'm Googling.
Yeah, but that's another. But see that one. That does kind of fall in the example of you have to zoom in to see it. Everybody's on their phones looking for this picture now.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's but there again too, the reason it's, I guess, to people like us, all these zoomed photos with faces and stuff like that, it does get annoying, but it can be very dangerous to somebody may have mental issues. And if they're posting a photo like this, thinking that there's something evil in their house, and then they have 30 people in the comments telling them, oh, geez, I would move. I feel really dark energy.
All the priests.
There's dark energy attached to that photo.
And that's what they do. That's what the problem is. The people say that. I've seen people say it's a demon. Oh my God, I can see the demon face in it. Well, okay.
We're like, that's dust. It's not a demon.
I've been on plenty of demonic cases. I've never seen a face in something floating around. It's, even in the 3 real orbs I've seen, there was no faces.
Yep.
Let's get that straight.
So we do a presentation for a local college here in Toledo. A couple times a year we do it, and I teach one of the classes. And I did a presentation about some of this stuff, and this fake stuff, and how dangerous it is to clients. So I took a client, and it wasn't a case of ours. It was something we almost did, but I have seen the paranormal community absolutely make this woman go crazy. Like, she had issues before, but it is 10,000 times worse now, because I've seen videos where she's live and she's talking to people, and they're like, oh, wait, what's that? I see a face right behind you.
Yeah. And
she literally has said, well, I don't see it, but the experts tell me it's there, so it must be there. You know what I mean? So the paranormal people have torn her up. For real. Like I said, it was bad to begin with, but it's gotten 1,000 times worse because of things that people have told her. People have come out and investigated. They've got the recorder on the ground with the camera. I literally saw the foot drag, and they're saying it's a demonic growl on EVP.
That's compression.
It's horrible to do that to people. And that's why, like I said, to us, it's a kind of a minor annoyance to see these pictures all the time, but there is real danger behind it. And I think that's one of the important reasons of doing a show like this.
And it's one of the things that I always used to tell people about. If you need help and you're looking for somebody, if you were looking for a group, like a local group in your area or something like that, you didn't know about the Warrens, but if you're looking at a group, make sure you look on there and find somebody, at least one person on that team who's been doing this for a while, probably before the TV show started, just because of this, because a lot of cases I get are after people had other teams in there that either messed it up or lied to them and scared them, because if there's nothing in there and they go in and tell them there's something there, Sage or whatever you're doing isn't going to clear it out, so they're still going to have a problem, and now they're going to be frightened because you told them it was something.
Or showed them a picture of a black blob and said,
yeah,
it's demonic.
got to be very careful. Yeah, I mean, and then it makes our life harder because we now have to try to convince them that it's nothing when they've already been told it was something.
Yeah.
Yep.
And another test that I like to use when I look for good paranormal teams is I found that the more YouTube followers they have, the more credible the team is. Thank you for laughing. I was like, they're all looking at me straight face like I'm serious. No, I'm just kidding. But that seems to be like, I've seen people look for, I'm building a team and, my YouTube following is this and my TikTok is this. It's like, you've said nothing about paranormal other than, your following and your followers. So you got to really, really be careful who you pick.
It's great to be out there.
Yeah.
And to get those followers and have fun. But the difference is, if you're looking for help, there's a difference between, if you look at probably 90% of the big YouTube people, they're not residential investigators.
They're ghost
they're
hunters.
They're ghost hunters. They're going out to abandoned places and known haunted places and things like that, which, okay, they're doing whatever they're doing with that, but it's different when you're doing people's homes. It's a different type of investigating. We don't use most of that stuff when we go into a home. A lot of that equipment, which we should talk about some of that equipment.
Yeah, I was going to go there next. Actually, I've even not even been peeking at the comments. We probably have 35 questions here that I missed, but I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm going to see if we.
No, that's all right. I'm just saying we don't use all that equipment in a home,
right?
And it's just because it's not the best possible evidence you could give somebody. So, if you invite a ghost hunting team and they come in and they have, outrageous equipment and all kind of crazy things you've never seen, I don't know if I would trust that 100%.
Yep. Well, let's get into some of that a little bit. Let's get into some of this equipment because, a lot of this show is, I guess, called, it's about evidence. And I've done it too. Like I definitely have two classes of things that I categorize: evidence that I know is concrete, straight up hard proof. And that category is very, very small, over my career, but things that are interesting, it's a bit larger. And sure. I don't think, especially in a residential case, it's not fair to rely on the interesting when you're going to a client. Like I really think that you have to have concrete proof. Like I would never go to a client and say, these cat balls went off, check this out. You know what I mean? Because that's just, those are so debunkable. It's not even funny.
Spirit balls.
So, my bad.
They're fun.
They are fun.
What's some other equipment that you guys would not go to a client with?
I wouldn't use a K2 meter.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, I have evidence with the K2.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you want something that's measurable, that will give you an actual number for reading, not give you lights that light up and go from green to red or anything like that.
Yep.
The thing is, most people have learned from TV shows and everything to use K2 meters as a yes/no type of thing.
Yep.
And what people don't understand is that there is EMF all over the house. It's coming from your phones. It's coming from the air conditioner. It's coming from the Wi-Fi's. Take a good, a tri-field meter or something that reads the numbers and go near a Wi-Fi unit or the air conditioner and watch the numbers go crazy. Now, if you're in a room, and you have a K2 meter and you're saying, okay, is anybody here? And it spikes for a second, that has nothing to do with a ghost.
Yeah.
It's probably spiking because there was EMF in the air.
Mhm.
You know, we normally use them more for like base readings around the house or looking for big concentrated areas.
Right.
You know, um, but yeah, K2s, you know, they're not good. Ovilus. Now, I'll tell you why I say that. The Ovilus, I like it. I think it's a fun, you know, device to play around with. And like you were saying, there's like the interesting side.
Yeah.
Most responses I've gotten on an Ovilus where made me question what it was
Mhm.
on the interesting side. Nothing I
Yeah.
would say, oh, definitely. You know, only because, like, for instance, I use one in the lectures I do. We were at a place in Davie called Flamingo Gardens, and we were inside the house like a museum. And one of my teammates was asking, because there was a record player there. Oh, what type of music do you listen to? You know, what did you like to listen to? And it said Edison.
Yeah.
And we looked up, and the record player was Edison. That was the brand name of it.
Yeah.
So that, you know, that made me kind of interested, although the next word it spit out was science. So, you know, I mean,
Right.
it's hard to tell. So can I go there? I mean, I show that and I think it's a cool capture, but would I tell somebody in a home that I think you have something because of that? No way.
Yep.
You know,
I'm loading another video of the same. I've got the same situation with the Ovilus. Like, I think it's junk. I mean, I don't like it, but just as I'm about to throw the thing in the garbage, every once in a while something like this will happen, and I'll show this video as soon as it's done loading. Connie, do you have any like Ovilus opinions or stories? Or
I have something. It's called a Tempest, and so it's similar to an Ovilus because it has a word bank, but it also
Mhm.
has phrases and it has letters. So it's interesting because you can, you know, choose which mode that it's on. And so it's more compelling when it's on letters and it's spelling things out. You
Yep.
know, I think that could, you know, be more interesting. I just got the thing, so I haven't had any, you know, wonderful results as
Yep.
of yet. But you know, the thing that annoys me too is that these things keep going off and going off and going
Yeah.
off and going off. And it's like, you know, I wish it would be less sensitive so that when
Mhm.
something comes through, you know, then maybe it's a little bit narrowing things down, I guess, because it's like, okay, I've gotten 25 words. Okay, two of them might mean something. You
Mhm.
know,
Right.
if it wasn't super sensitive, then maybe it would be something that you could trust a little bit more. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
In the
And
Go ahead, Stephanie. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, now I don't use the Ovilus or any device like that, but I think if you can use that in conjunction with some research
Mhm.
or a way that you can validate what's coming through, you know, if you've looked into the background of the home or the land, the people, and see, you know, what you can find. And then if
Like
you
a
can ask
name or
certain
something.
questions,
right.
or, you know, when you're there and you get an answer that comes through that validates what you already know, I
Yep.
think that's great.
Well, this
I
is
did
a
have great
this is a
results
good.
with one before. I forgot about it. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I was gonna say this is a good video of exactly what you're talking about. I'm gonna play this. It's 40 seconds. It's one of the few cases where I thought, okay, there's something to this device because the odds of this happening, I think, have to be huge. So
Right.
let's go ahead and show this.
Story. Wow, and with the story.
We are at
Oh,
this.
Jeff, you got your camera rolling?
Yes.
Pretty cool.
We are here at where the Story family is buried in the Ovilus Just Said story.
Story. Wow, and with the story.
We are at
Oh,
this.
Jeff, you got your camera rolling?
Yes.
Pretty cool.
We are here at where the Story family is buried in the Ovilus Just Said story.
Yeah. So that big headstone in the background said "story" because that's where the family was buried, and we got one not too long after that too that said "mommy."
Hmm.
So I mean that could be one of the few times that I've actually seen, okay, this, because I've found too that a lot of times people will walk around with the Ovilus and it starts directing their questioning.
Yeah.
You know, like a word will come up and then their next question is based on that word.
Right. And then
another
it
word.
just feeds more into the
You want
theme
it
of
the other
whatever
way
we're
around.
talking
Yeah.
about.
Yep.
And I like using them. I like playing around with them, and they're fun. And
Yeah.
sometimes, like that, it comes up with something that just makes you question it, but just not in a residential.
Yep.
People
And I have
try
to
not
give
to do that.
real quick, I have to give credit. That's that video is not mine. It's the Toledo, Ohio Ghost Hunter Society. That's good friends of mine here in Toledo. So I want to credit them with the
That's a
with
good
the
one.
video.
'Cause you know those things can't hear.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
meant
Well,
to
see,
pick up
that's
human
Unlike
audio.
that.
that's another thing. So, you know, here's something I've always wondered. So in the line of, you know, in the paranormal field, in ghost hunting equipment, EMF is the biggest driver of almost everything. Why is it just assumed that EMF equals ghost? Like we just all assume that, you know, it's just like I've never heard actual scientific reasoning why us paranormal investigators and ghost hunters are so, you know, geeked about EMF.
I think a long time ago, someone said that when they felt a spirit was present, there was a change in the environment, and that change was in the form of electromagnetic frequency, and that between a certain range is when is like the sweet spot. And I can't remember what that number is off the top of my head, but if something happened within that range, then it's considered spirit energy or energy in general. But and I'm thinking of the millimeter. There's when you take a millimeter and you put it in the center of the room, and you make sure that it's not near anything else that could give it a false positive or a false reading, and it jumps from 0.0 and it goes to 0.7. Let's use that as an example. That if nothing else was around that device to set it off, that could indicate a change in the environment that could possibly be energy from a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that there's anything ever written down on paper that states that if you get this number to this number in that range, that it's definitely a spirit. I don't think you'll find that.
It's almost like you know, from the cleansing end, like sage. Us ghost hunters love our freaking sage. Sage is the miracle drug. You know what I mean? It cures everything in the paranormal world when it actually really, really doesn't do much. You know, so it's kind
I don't
of
really use it. I'm a shaman. Different.
Yeah. So you know what I'm saying? There's well, you know, and you guys, I'm sure, see that in the groups 1,000 times a day too. What you need to do
you have a
is go
demon,
get
just
some
use some sage.
Yeah. Yep.
One time Bill was talking to somebody and they're like, demons don't like sage. It'll make them, they don't like the smell of it. Like the demon is like all evil. And then it's like, oh, I don't like that.
Wait,
dude. I'm out there.
I'm out.
Run.
Yeah. So I mean, that's always bothered me that all of this equipment is built to detect EMF. And really, you know, the Boo Buddy, the rope lights, the K2,
I hate Boo Buddies.
Yeah.
I hate them.
Oh, I do too. They're annoying. But I mean, they're all designed to pick up EMF for the most part. The Ovilus, I mean, so I think sometime, I don't know, maybe we need to challenge that. Like why EMF, like go back to like Stephanie said, she thinks some guy said it once.
Well, you have to remember certain things, like let's say Boo Buddy, okay? And I have one, and I've played around with them, and the thing is fun, you know, when you're out there. Like I said, I always say it's creepy when it goes off in an abandoned prison.
And it hasn't gone off in forever.
That's not right. Yep. But I remember back when I was young, you know, we didn't have all these things, so we used teddy bears and little toy trucks and everything you could think of as a trigger object. So all these things like Boo Buddy, which is, you know, Ghost Stop, they're investigators. So they took the trigger object and they added things to it to give it a little more. Let it, you know, combine a few different pieces of equipment. Let it determine temperatures. Let it talk to entice maybe the child spirits to talk to it or something like that. And I think it's a pretty cool little device. Again, I would never use that in a person's home or anything, you know, but it's fun to play with and see what kind of, you know, reactions you get out of it, because it is it's a pretty big piece of technology inside of it.
Isn't it basically like a REM pod inside of a teddy bear? Pretty much.
It's a bunch of things. So it will detect temperature and humidity changes. It will detect touch. It does EMF, I believe, and it also talks. It will randomly just speak to try to get spirits to talk to it. So you put a recorder next to it,
Okay.
and you'll see it change. The light on its stomach will change from red to green depending on the temperature.
Yeah.
And you'll see if something touches, like if you grab it and you touch its hand, his hand will light up, and then he'll say, "Oh, I like holding hands with you." So it's kind of just what we used to have back in the day without having all the technology telling us what it was doing. If a ghost was grabbing that teddy bear, you had no idea.
Yep. Have you ever had any like false positives from, like, say, the touch part of it? Like, does the hand ever light up when you're out using it, and you're like, oh, that's clearly a mistake?
I mean, I've seen it light up. If something grabbed it, I have no idea.
Maybe if
You
the
know?
battery is dying, because like when
Yeah.
a REM pod battery is dying, it starts going haywire.
Yep, it goes crazy.
So,
Yep.
maybe that could be a false positive situation
Yeah.
too for those things.
Yeah. What do you guys think of like motion detection ghost
I
equipment?
like them.
Yeah.
I have a couple that I like. One of them is super, super annoying. It's really, really loud. So it's good to.
Is it
be
that
able to
music box?
record. Huh?
Is it that music box that people buy?
No,
Okay.
it's this thing, and it goes, "Hello, welcome." Like it's like so loud, and it like startles you
Yeah.
pretty good. But I actually do like that.
Mhm.
I've gotten some stuff off of it, but because of my abilities, the reason why I like it is because sometimes I know that something is coming and
Mhm.
I'm able to see it, and then it'll go off.
Yeah.
And it's like around the corner. So it's just more validation.
Mhm.
So I like them.
They're loud and annoying too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You got to make sure that you're like far enough away from it that you
Yeah.
are not setting it off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the one that I have. It's an old fashioned. It's just one that, like, it's meant to go in front of a store door, so it has a beam that has to be broke, and
Yeah.
it just goes dee dee when it goes. If something breaks the beam, so that's. But I think so. Have you guys, Bill? What do you think? Are they susceptible to false positives? Some of this motion stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to the cameras in a way because it has a sensor on it. So if, let's say, a piece of dust, we'll go back to
Okay.
the dust. If a piece of dust or something like that gets really and flies right past the sensor is going to detect it as a item bigger than what it actually is, and it
Yeah.
could set it off.
Okay.
So yeah, it definitely
That makes
can
sense.
I
create
don't know
false
if they
positives.
have some that are more sensitive than others.
They
You know what
do.
I mean? Because like and I don't know how sensitive mine are, but you have to get fairly close to mine in order for
Yes.
them to go off.
Yeah.
And sometimes like I'm waving my hand and it's not going off.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I
It
said
probably
if like
depends on the device, yeah.
like if a bug or let's say or a piece of dust or something flew
Or a mouse.
right past
Yeah.
it like that, it
Yeah.
may set it off. Like I
Yeah.
remember when I got my alarm system in the house and I had a cat and I was asking them like, okay, we got motion sensors in the hallways and stuff, the cat's going to set it off, and they said no. And that's one of the things I tell people because their Ring cameras and stuff go off and it says
Yeah.
detect human, detect
Yeah.
person or something like that. I try to explain to them that because the cameras are set now, the motions are set to a very different standard than they were before, so that
Yeah.
if you have a dog or you have a cat and it jumps around, it doesn't pick it up as much. Depends on how you have the motion. Like, so if you have your camera up in the corner of your house,
Yeah.
it's not going to pick up the cat walking on the ground because it could tell it's on the ground.
Yeah.
Now, if the bug comes by and it's floating in the middle of the room like this close,
Yeah.
it's gonna think that's something bigger than an
Yep.
animal because it's up high.
Yeah.
So same thing with the motion sensors. It depends on how you have them angled and something goes in front of them, but they're definitely they go off. They'll give you less false positives than an actual camera, but the motions they can, depending on what it is, can cause it to go off. But I like them too.
Stephanie, do you guys use any of that stuff?
We do. We have a 360 motion sensor that we use depending on how the layout of a residential house is. If we can stick it in a spot that's more open, that can give us a better area for it to work, then we'll use that. We have used it in places where we had it in a room. They are so sensitive. We would be in the hallway and just walk by the doorway, and they
Oh,
would go
yeah.
off.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you have enough space around it so that
Mhm.
you are not setting it off.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
it's loud. If you're like in another part of the house, you can definitely hear it when it goes off. And as long as you know where everyone is on your team, if you've got them all next to you, or you can see them all on a camera, and you know for sure that nobody set that off, it's amazing when it does go off.
Mhm.
You have to be careful of just, again, it's like know your environment.
Mhm.
Make sure
Yeah.
that the air's not on, it's not blowing a curtain. Look at everything around the room and see what's
Yeah.
in there that can move, because they can get triggered.
Yeah, something like that. I would definitely have to have a camera.
And
on
I
it.
would, and
And
as you go
capture
along,
the whole
each
thing.
one that you do, you find out what works
Mhm.
well
Yeah.
on residential cases. We found out a couple of months ago that we like to use walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
Some of the houses and places we go to are so large, we need walkie-talkies to communicate and
Yep.
set cameras up. And we found that whenever we activated a walkie, it would set off a REM pod.
Yep.
So now when I'm
Interesting.
watching shows and I see somebody come in with a walkie and they
You're
press
like,
it or they've got it close, the REM pod goes off and they're like, "Oh no, dude, did you see that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's your walkie."
K2s go off like crazy too with walkie talkies.
Yeah.
Here's another funny thing is though, like, so I've set a millimeter next to a K2 before, and then my cell phone by it. The K2 goes crazy with a text. The millimeter didn't do anything. So maybe sometimes I do like to do that. I'll take two pieces of equipment that are supposed to do the same thing
Right.
and put
Sure.
them side by side. And if the K2 is going off and you're seeing lights and blah blah blah, but the numeric reading is not doing anything, I tend to trust the numeric reading over the lights any day of the week, because
Well-
no one wants to buy a piece of ghost equipment that doesn't light up.
Well, I think the millimeter is designed a little bit differently
Yeah.
than your normal everyday EMF meter too. So there's
Yep.
something special about it.
Yeah, and Bob says the same thing here in the
The
comments.
Tempest is something in
Yep.
there as well. It's called an e-meter. It's not an
Mhm.
EMF. I don't know anything about those things, to be honest, but it's not as sensitive. So your phone doesn't set it off,
Oh, okay.
So it's definitely, harder to get it to activate. And so I
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah, Nikki brings up a good point too. This is something that she says we should turn our
Oh,
phones off or put them on airplane mode, because
From what I
How-
understand, if it's on airplane mode, it can still ping.
yeah,
And so it really just needs to be off.
mhm.
And
not
I
with you.
also heard that with the EMF, you're actually supposed to put it on its side. It's not supposed to be flat. It's
Hmm.
supposed to be on the thin part. And I
Okay.
don't recall why.
Because here's another reason why I said, a lot of times some of this stuff just seems annoying to us because we see it all the time. But here's an instance where it becomes dangerous. So, I've seen some videos where an investigation team went into a house, set down a K2 meter, immediately started talking to a demon. Like that, we didn't sweep the house. We didn't,
Do
is it your deceased mother? Like, immediately started talking to a demon, and the thing started
course.
lighting up. There's a cell phone 2 feet away from it on the ground. Like, I mean, in the whole case spiraled from there, and it was.
I think the client was holding a cell phone too.
Yep. And I'm like, I'm sitting there watching this, like, oh my God, what in the world, and the client's getting scared to death because this thing keeps lighting up. So therefore, they ask it a
Yeah.
question and, are you demonic? Boom, it starts lighting up. Well, it's
Meanwhile, they
there's
had it,
reasons.
device after device after device, kind of like stacked in a line,
Yeah.
all next to
Yep.
each other.
I do tell everybody, try not to use your phone. There's times where I had to pull it out to record something quick
Yep.
that I was
Yep.
doing, like I was holding. But I tell them the thing is, even if you have it in airplane mode or whatever you're doing, a lot of people take out their phone and they use it to record, EVPs. And
Mhm.
yes, your phone can record audio, of course. But I tell them, what you don't understand is your phone has like 40 apps that are
Yeah.
in the background running.
Mhm.
They make slight little vibrations, slight little noises, everything that's going to contaminate your evidence, and you're never even going to know about it.
Yeah.
So and we'll go right into this. Don't use ghost apps ever.
I was just gonna say, okay, so
Someone mentioned
We're going there.
necrotic.
I'm gonna step away for a second, but I want you to go over these ghost apps, especially your favorite one.
Oh God. The
Ghost
thing
Tube.
with the ghost apps
The best.
is
True.
he's running off.
He said
thing is-
bye.
He's like, oh,
Yeah.
hey.
Leave us with this.
Your
I have
show,
nothing to do
Bill.
with it. Yeah.
He's gonna go. He's gonna go play with the apps right now.
Yeah.
That's what
He's going to delete them off his phone. Um, no, the apps. Look, if you want to take them out again, go to an abandoned building and see what they do compared to your real equipment. All right, I guess have fun with it, but understand there is no way they are going to be viable evidence ever.
It is not concrete
Because,
evidence.
yeah, number one, a lot of them, I will not say all of them, a lot of them are programmed to produce false responses. Because why wouldn't you want to buy this this app, if it's somebody's telling you, wow, I got ghost all over the house, and
You're going to pay for it and it's going to give you 0 results. Like, why
Right.
would you want that? And you're not going to tell your friends, I got this cool app and it does absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and some of those apps are like $10-$20.
Mm.
Nobody would pay $10 or $20 if the app did nothing. If it
Right.
didn't give them something.
And remember, if your app is telling you, like GhostTube, I will use names, that it is an SLS camera, your phone is not an SLS camera. So it's not even the correct technology. You know what I mean? So and again, they're programmed to go off more often. They're going to produce false positives. There is no app out there that I would tell you can trust. And some people, there's a couple that they will swear by them. Oh, well, I had it here and it did the same thing as my K2. Well, yeah, because your K2 isn't real either. So there's you have to watch what you're comparing it to.
I have played with one. I will say, on occasion. And I was shocked because I got some good results. And it's a talking app. But I'll tell you, I was in a hospital and there was a specific doctor who had passed away in a specific area. I just got the app. We hadn't even said this guy's name. Walked up to where it happened and just asking questions, not expecting anything. And the name came through and, details came through. And I was like, oh, okay. Would I put all my faith in it? Absolutely not. Would I use it in a residential as evidence? No.
Right.
It's one of those things that, like, it could be fun, but I would prefer to use other things.
Yeah.
I pulled it out in a pinch when I don't have anything. I'm like, oh, let me see if I can get something right now.
I mean, if you think about the word bank that's programmed into them, you got to think about what words that are in there. And I remember the first time I used it, it was like 4 years ago. And I was on my iPad, I was in my room, and I think I pointed it at my closet, and I got the little stick figure, and then a name came through, and I know the name. It was the name of my grandmother, which was Ethel. That was her first name. And if you think about how kind of rare that name is, you don't find that name around anymore. And that was the last time I used it, because I was like, oh no, grandma better not be here.
Could a spirit manipulate something like that? Sure. Why not?
Sure.
They can do a whole lot of stuff that we don't understand, but I don't feel that that's, reliable equipment. And
Right.
I really don't think that there's a lot of really reliable equipment, because all of it requires a lot of debunking and, not just like, oh my God, this is, so I think, it's what you put into it too.
Well, yeah, and like the reason I say to stay away from the apps, and I've used most of them. I've tried them all myself just to see what they do. Like you said, yes, spirits can manipulate anything like that.
Mhm.
So you may get something that could come through. That could be possible, but the problem is they are programmed to produce
To
stuff.
do something.
So so you're never going to know when something comes through, was that real? Did it was it a coincidence? So you can't use it as evidence. And I would say stay away from it because it takes you down a bad rabbit hole.
Yep.
Because if you get, ghost tube and necrophonic and all these things, and you go out there and you start using them, they're going to produce so many results that you're never going to want to use real equipment.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
easy.
yeah. And I
The
think,
entertainment value is definitely there.
yes,
We had a client recently that presented us evidence from an app, that the reason why their house was haunted, and they showed us this video clip from, I think it might have even been the GhostTube app. And then, a couple words came up. So I had my assistant Kimberly, I said, download this app because it's a Droid app. I couldn't get it on my iPhone. And I said, download this app, play with it, see what it does. The exact same image came up in the exact same words immediately. So it's like, clearly they don't have the same thing happening at their house. So, I mean, it's programmed to do that. And
Yeah.
so I did a lot of research for, like I said, that class that I've done. And that was when I've read a ton of articles on how these ghost app makers use cell phone components to make them do what they do. There is
Right.
literally nothing on a cell phone that will read EMF at all.
No.
So
exactly.
if you have an app claiming that it's detecting EMF, it's not. There's nothing on a cell phone that will detect that. So it's using parts of other components of your phone to make it look like,
I've
it's an
even seen
EMF phone.
oh, get this IR app, and it just turns your phone into IR. Like,
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. GhostTube has an IR option to it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So here's another
Yeah.
thing. Do we want to, you guys, it seemed like when I stepped away for a second, and just so everybody knows, that is in my Warren Files signed contract that I get every hour I get to step away for like 3 or 4 minutes. So just so everybody
You were
knows.
deleting those phone apps. Come on.
Yeah. No, I was actually using one on I was a little freaked out because something was in front of me.
SLS was acting up.
So what do you guys think
He was
about,
waiting.
what do you guys think about the traditional SLS cameras? What do you guys think about those? Are they,
I think they can be cool. I think that they can
Mhm.
provide some evidence, but I also think that you really have to pay attention to what you're doing with it, because there are so many opportunities for false positives on it. And so you've really, really got to show some discernment with what you've got there.
Yep.
I mean, there was one in one of these groups, and it, right. Well, there's one particular
she's being
one.
nice.
And it's like in a chair. I think Bill was on this post too.
Yeah.
It was in a chair, and Bill and I and everybody is like, well, it's a chair and there's stuff in the room. Well, the dog was reacting to something, and I've been investigating for a very long time, and this place is notoriously haunted. And we're like, all of that aside, you don't have anything with this. Like, that is not evidence. You've got a chair, you've got boxes, you've got stuff, there's too much stuff around there, and it's not doing anything. It's just sitting there the whole entire time.
Yep.
So if it's not moving, if it's not doing anything, that's a good indicator.
Yeah.
If you're asking it to respond or interact, and it is, then that's definitely more compelling.
And when it's just going like this, that's not doing something.
Blow up crazy
That's
guy.
normal.
Listen,
that's normal.
I've got a very good story, and there's a video of me getting in a fight with a demon. There was an SLS image. This was okay. So I'm not proud of this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway.
Oh boy.
This was very, very early in my career in doing this. So keep this
Last
in
year.
mind. No, yeah.
Johnny,
not even that long ago. No, we did this. Actually, I think this was the second residential case that I did. And one thing we did, we had the client present, which I will never in my life do again. Because we had this SLS camera on a chair that they felt was haunted, and a lamp that was sitting next to it. We actually ended up taking the lamp because they felt that was their problem. There's a whole lot more to the story, but we had it focused on this. So this image pops up right next to me on the lamp. And I go like that. I jerked, and it jerked too. You know what I mean? And but then it was in the chair, and it was like, okay, this has to be legit. This thing is not moving. So the client is watching the whole thing, and that's what I'm embarrassed about, because they're freaking out like, oh my God. So we took the lamp, and like we decided to study this. It actually so underneath the like burlap lampshade, it was a shiny surface underneath it.
There's reflection.
Right. So, we
When
and
you would
this
move
was-
it,
yes, exactly. So they like cylinder objects. They like shiny objects. They like, the cameras do. And it's
not the spirits, the cameras. 'cause this is
exactly the camera does.
Yeah.
And another thing too, tell me if this is true. I've always been told that like when you move an SLS camera, it takes 3 seconds to recalibrate. Is that true, or
I have
because-
no clue.
because these
don't know. I've
mobile
heard
handheld ones, I'm not a big fan of because I did hear that.
I thought Bob was yelling at us. He's actually happy. I was like, what's Bob yelling about?
Yeah.
I've seen the SLS cameras pick up people, stick figures on wallpaper patterns, on
Yes.
bricks, like
Mhm.
in the bricks.
Yep.
You have to be in a pretty much empty room. And if you want it to be really considered something, it has to do something unusual, like
Yeah.
run off the screen. I had one do that one time. It actually
Mm-hmm.
ran off the screen. When it just sits there and moves, some people say you could interact with it if you tell it to do something. There's been people that have like reached out and the hand reached over to touch them.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, that's a little more strange.
It's more
you know,
compelling for sure.
Right. If it's coming from a chair, though, I'm still questioning it. Yeah. But most people, that the person you're talking about in that group, their room was like the episode of Hoarders. There was stuff everywhere, and then there was a chair there, so it's like it was picking up on everything. So, you can't go by that. Definitely
now,
can't go
see,
by that.
Kelly likes to use one, and Kelly's part of my team. And Kelly likes to use one whenever we go to certain places. And she actually, I don't know how to use it. She does. And she will go in and she will map out a room. She doesn't hold it. It is on a tripod. And she will map out the entire room. And then she will calibrate it. She'll have somebody stand in front of it to kind of calibrate what a person is.
Mhm.
And we've gotten a few good things off of her SLS. But again, I don't believe it was in a residential. I know we used it at a Civil War museum in Tennessee.
Yep. Because I do know, like I said, that
Interesting there, but
it is designed to sit stationary in a room.
Yes.
That's what it's designed to do. So we've got all these people walking around with the handhelds and buying them from ghost stores, which they a lot of times tweak equipment to, to be a ghost hunting tool, whatever.
Right.
So, but I'd like to use things for how they were designed to be used, like an EMF reader with a digital number. It reads EMF fields. It doesn't say it's a ghost. It doesn't light up saying that there's a ghost nearby. It says this is the EMF field at where you're holding it. You know what I mean? And in the SLS camera, it was designed to sit stationary in a room and
Yeah.
pick up people. So I
Absolutely.
like when we've used them, we have put them out there. We have, I try to, if the walls have a glossy paint, I won't point it at a wall. You know what I mean? Like Bill said, the chairs, anything cylinder, things like that. And I like to set it down and leave it. I don't walk around with it. We just, set it down and leave it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this: what Stephanie was talking about, I'm not sure about the whole calibrating thing, because if you put, I use mine on a tripod also a lot, or I'll put it has a little small tripod. I'll put it somewhere in the corner. But if you have it sitting there still and you stand in front of it and it calibrates to you, if there's a chair next to you at any point, it can still pick something up from the chair. It can disappear. It could come back, because the software is designed, even though you're there now, it's designed to constantly scan. So it's always looking for other things to detect, because it was created for motion games. So, a lot of the motion games and everything. So it's always looking for that second person that has another, thing. So it's always looking for things.
it is.
So I don't know.
I've seen them map out somebody's leg as a little stick figure person. Their arm has one. I would have to ask her. Oh, okay. So she's saying that she will move items out of range of the laser on the Connect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here's
like I said,
another-
I don't know how to work it. She does, and she created it and made it herself with all the parts. She didn't buy it from
Cool.
one of those ghost groups or anything
Right,
like
right.
that.
Right.
And here's another thing too that I've noticed, that people with the SLS cameras, they seek out I think it's the second and third generation Kinect cameras to build these with, because when, as a video game feature, people were actually reporting to Microsoft that these things are pieces of crap because they're detecting things that's not me. And it was a flaw in the programming. It wasn't a ghost in the room, making you not kill the guy in Call of Duty. It was
That
you know what I'm
makes it
saying?
the most exciting piece of equipment. When
Right.
it does
And that's
that.
why people seek out those specific generation cameras, because the newer ones, have fixed some of those flaws, and they maybe don't go off as much in a paranormal investigation. So people want the older Kinect.
That's
cameras.
why they like Ghost Tube.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right.
Honestly,
exactly.
it's
Well,
I
Kenny
do
Biddle-
understand. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, if you bring up Kenny Biddle, he did an article on using the SLSs
Mhm.
with the Kinect camera, and he had a nice thing that he added to his article was, if you're going to use it, it needs to be between 6 and 8 feet away from like a wall that
Mhm.
has nothing on it, no furniture,
Yes.
nothing. The room should be pretty empty, and the best thing to do is point it at a wall. And I don't know why I just went out of focus. I think it's because I moved.
Yeah.
It's the
So like
ghost
this.
that's in the
Ghost.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a
Put your
ghost in
hands
between
on
you
the
and the camera.
it's Grandma.
Reset your camera.
There you go.
Move
There
move
it
your
goes.
move your SLS camera real quick.
Get off of Ghost
Oh.
Tube,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it'll adjust.
Can we
Just
go on
kidding.
to something before I forget?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the
yes.
flashlight.
Now,
Yay.
I got to explain some things about this. So,
Go ahead. I'm going to turn on another light.
Oh.
It's looking dark too.
and this is funny because this is where the thing that I always talk about comes from, or somebody told me I obviously have never investigated before. So there's a trick that I think started from TV, and it's called the flashlight trick. And there are a million teams out there and people out there and ghost hunters everywhere in the world that's using this now.
I've done it.
Yeah,
I did it.
know everybody's tried it, and I'm going to
Everybody's
tell you
done it.
now, it is a trick, exactly like I say. If you want,
Entertainment.
if you want a ghost to manipulate your flashlight, they have the ability to manipulate electronics, energy, stuff like that. They could do it on their own. But what they were taught was, this won't work, but you take, especially they use mainly mag lights. You unscrew, you keep it on, so the light's on, and then you unscrew the top until it just breaks the electrical connection.
That
And then they
little
leave it
tiny
there
sweet
on
spot.
something. Yeah, you play it back and forth until it's just almost touching. And then they rest it on something, and then, like the K2 meters, they start asking questions. Is anybody here? Is this? And it'll go on sometimes, and they take it as going on as a yes answer.
Mhm.
The problem is they don't realize that, one, you're breaking an electrical connection that is just broken, so it's going to constantly touch at times, and anything in that room, the slightest 1 or 2 degree temperature up or down, can cause the actual body of the camera to contract and expand, which will connect it and turn it off, and connect it and turn it off. It is 100% provable. I have a video that we saw where a guy did it using a thermal gun to it, and you could
Yeah.
watch the actual thing heat up, and then it turns on, and then cools down, and it goes off. It's basic science on this one. But
And
the
humidity,
problem,
too.
That's cheating.
Yeah.
That's cheating.
yeah, and the problem is the TVs showed it, so everybody
Yeah.
believes it. And so what happened was there was a group, and normally when I go into the groups and I see people asking for advice, I'll answer them. If somebody's just posting evidence or something, I don't know who they are, and I'm not there to just discredit them and make them look dumb. I don't do that. But I couldn't help it on this one, because the guy was in the group and he was promoting that, oh, they have the best evidence they've ever captured, which right away I'm intrigued because I want to see what you captured. I'm hoping it's
Yeah.
something good.
Yep.
And there they are with the flashlight on the mantle over the fireplace. If I remember right, the fireplace might have even been on, which makes it even better. But and they're asking questions, and it's
awesome.
going off and I wrote in there and I just said, okay, how am I going to say this very politely? And I said, you realize that the flashlight trick isn't viable evidence because it can be explained.
Mhm.
And right away, this isn't a trick. I didn't buy it in a magic store. And I said, no,
Yeah.
let me rephrase that. I said, I'm not talking about a magic trick, fake. I
Right,
said
right.
it, and I explained what I was just explaining here, how it can,
It can be
expand.
debunked.
Yeah, I
Yes.
explained what it was, and he goes, obviously, you have never investigated before. And he goes, I don't know where you get your information from. And I said, I don't like to go on and say stuff. So I said, look me up if you want to know, what I
Like,
do.
don't you know who I
And
am?
yeah, that's all I said is, look me up if you want to know what I know, how long I've been doing this. And I would say he said something else, and then it went about 20 minutes, and then the whole post was gone. And it wasn't
Let's be
removed.
honest. Bill's
was
from
deleted.
Jersey. Bill said, "You know what? You come to my house. Here's my address." He's a Jersey guy, so that's
You
how
show
that
you
really
who
went
I
He's
am.
down.
actually said that. I've seen it.
This is dust. Don't let me tell you again. We're gonna bring some friends over. No.
Right?
And here again, so it's like approaching 9:30, so we should probably try and wrap it up. But I think the whole thing is, I don't want us to sound conceited. Like,
No.
we're smarter, everybody's stupid. It's
No.
not that. It's really my thing is this. There are certain things that you guys should be doing in residential versus, say a ghost hunt.
Yeah.
It's different. In the problem is, like I said, there's one case that I really follow, that the paranormal community in this equipment and their bad, lack of debunking EVPs and things like that has really, really done damage to a person. I've watched it happen over the last year. So that's why it's not we don't think we're better than everybody else. It's like you really have to be careful, because there's true danger in not knowing what you're doing and what you're telling people.
There are
It's
people going and doing residential cases that have never done residential cases before. There's whole entire teams of people that don't have the experience. They've just decided that this is what they want to be doing, and they put themselves out there as that. And I had an issue with the team myself, who said that they were going to come and help me, and they absolutely didn't. And I really needed it. This was a very, very long time ago, and residentials need to be handled very, very carefully. And if you don't know what you're doing and you get into a situation, you've got to reach out to somebody else for help, for sure.
Right.
Yep.
Don't scare the client,
Yep.
don't scare them, and
Take
be
what we're
respectful to
saying.
them.
Yeah, take what we're saying as education. And if you don't know and you don't think we know what we're talking about, go look one of us up. Go see how long we've been doing this, what we know, why we're saying what we're saying, because we want you to go out and learn this. We want more people to learn how to
That's
do
why
it.
we're sharing the information.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
How
I
many
never
of
try
our
to discredit
cases-
somebody.
How many of our cases have come in that people have already had 2 or 3 teams in there, and they're scared to death because of what they told them, and
A
they
lot.
end up turning out to honestly be nothing.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people don't know what it is, it's like, oh, you have a demon. I can't handle
Mhm.
that. Sorry. So
Yes.
they,
I hate that.
they don't want to seem like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So let me just lay the worst thing possible on you and pretend like, that's beyond me. Oh, you need to contact a priest. Sorry. That's outside of my scope.
That's just the worst thing imaginable, to tell somebody that, that's bad. You need to call somebody else. And then you jet and you leave the client like that. That is so bad.
Yeah.
I have somebody that contacts me a lot. I'm not going to say their name at all. Somebody contacts me a lot and is always looking for help. And the problem they've had is they've had so many teams come over there and tell them that it's a demon, it's a portal in their room. There's so many, and then I go, okay, well, if it was, and that's what they said, what did they do about it? They said they don't know what to do, and they left.
Yep.
I'm like,
God.
and then I try to explain to them that the stuff they show me, that they say, here's the evidence that the people showed me that said this is a demon or this is a portal or whatever. And I tell them, absolutely not. I hate to tell you, but absolutely not. And they don't want to believe me because they've now had multiple teams tell them that. And again, I don't know everything. I'm not 100% right all the time, but there's basic things that I can tell you what they were doing was not real. I don't know if they were. And one of them was actually taking it and posting it on their Patreon. So, they're doing the residential for free, and then they're posting the videos on Patreon and for everybody to see. So, yeah, of course it was a demon.
There's the confidentiality in that too, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I don't really want to extend this show too long, and maybe this question
Here's
will.
an interesting question.
Is it from Kelly?
No, it's from Don Danger.
Oh yeah, Don. I know Don.
Oh, is that Steve? Oh, Steve White.
Where's the
Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
Dowsing rods.
Oh.
So
Is it
Steve
this long one?
asking, yeah, it is that long one.
Okay.
Moving a pendulum or dowsing rods, can it be actually a spirit? Okay, those things, it's energy. The dowsing rods and the pendulum are manipulated by energy. A pendulum is being manipulated by a little bit of your energy, plus whatever energy is around it that can manipulate it. But to answer your question about the dowsing rods, Kelly loves using dowsing rods, and we have her bring them wherever we go. And
If they're not used properly, then that's an issue, though. You know, if you
this
see
one
people
was
not
not a
holding them
residential.
correctly-
This was a fun one.
Here's my problem with the dowsing rods. They always work. They always work.
Now
I
listen
never
to
see
this.
them not work.
gonna blow
Even
your
when I
mind,
use them, I'm
honey.
being extra careful to hold them. And so I'm like, is this my energy wanting it to move, wanting the question to be answered so it's working?
Well,
And
here,
I'm
I've got a story for you. I don't know. This might convince you a little bit, but we went to a historical location not too long ago, and I have this thing where I put my earbuds in my ear and like kind of leave them there, and then I'll take them out, and then I'll put them like in my lap or something, and then I'll forget. Like I'll get out of my car and they'll fall down, and then I got to go looking in the dark with a flashlight to find them. Right. Well, I met Kelly and another teammate at a location, and I had my earbud in my ear, and I took it out as I sat in the car, and I put it in my lap. Well, then I was like, oh, I got to get something from the trunk. So we stopped, and I got out. My earbud fell into the parking lot. We got to the location. I was like, uh-oh, I don't know where my earbud is. So I'm out with a flashlight at this historical site looking for my earbud, which is black, right? It's black. So good luck finding that in the dark. So Kelly came out to help me. She's like, hold on, I'm going to pull out the dowsing rods and we're going to ask the dowsing rods. So, she asked a couple of questions, and she asked if they were at the location, and it proceeded to say no. And then she asked, did we leave them back at Michelle's office, which is where we left from? And they said yes. So I was like, oh man, that's great. It's going to get run over. I'm never going to find it again. It was a Christmas gift. My husband's going to kill me. Oh. At the end of the night, we meet back at the office, and I was like, I'm going to find that earbud before my husband pulls up to catch me, right? And so I go down, and sure enough, it was a little ways in the parking lot. It was right there on the ground, and I picked it up. I was like, oh my God, Kelly!
I did that. That's a great story, and I'm glad that you found them and you didn't get in trouble.
I know. How about I picked it up as my husband was pulling up, and he was like, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing.
My friend Jerry Holt, she's also in the Warren Legacy Foundation. She and I were in a haunted mausoleum. So we did an experiment. And so I actually was typing questions into my phone, and I was standing behind her, and I would wait, and then I would type the questions, and they would move and respond to what I was asking. And I didn't say like, okay, I'm doing it now. I did not give her any indication that I was doing this, and they were working. So I don't think that, that I could say like, okay, they don't work, they're garbage, whatever. But, I don't know. Do I use them sometimes? Sure. But I don't know.
Some people believe that both pendulum and dowsing rods, some of the people believe it can also be the spirits actually manipulating you to move them.
Yes.
Like you're using your energy to move them, like it's telling you what to do. You just don't realize it.
When I've used the pendulum before, I have felt energy surge through my arm that was holding them. And whenever I hold a pendulum, I hold it like this. I don't hold my arm out. I hold it like I T-Rex it. Yeah. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens.
Isn't it
My,
kind of
my
like a
wife
plan?
uses it for energy healing and
Yeah.
things, and you know,
Isn't it
Yeah.
kind of like a planchette on a Ouija board? Like the whole theory is it's using your energy
Yes.
Yeah.
to, so then there's that.
right. That's the whole thing about the Ouija board. They say people are pushing them, and again, people believe that it is, yes, it
Yep.
is you physically pushing it,
Yep.
but it's the spirit manipulating your energy to push it or
Mhm.
convincing
boards are a
somehow
whole
getting you.
other
Yeah,
topic.
Yeah, I actually,
Man, that's another
it's a
show
whole-
right there.
yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
I
I
never
actually,
used a Ouija board. I have,
Yeah.
I totally would.
Yeah.
But I never have. It's just has not happened.
there
for
is
some-
there is one scientific study I read a lot. This was I wish I was prepared to like throw this article out there for people to go look up. But they did a study on Ouija boards and people at a Ouija board
Blindfold?
convention. No,
Did
they actually had cameras on their eyeballs.
Yeah. Ew.
So
I know, right?
well, no, not in them, but I'm saying like focused on them in the
Not what
board
I
and
saw.
everything.
right.
No, they set up this experiment to see where people's eyes went, even doing two people. Like it, God, okay. Now I'm pissed off because I don't have it. But the synopsis was basically, even when two people work together, your brain is coming up with words, and then the other person is, each letter you get, the next person connects with the word as well too. So two people on a planchette, like
Mhm.
they've, I guess, debunked it,
Mhm.
but not really. I mean, I still think there's something to a Ouija board.
You
but
know,
like,
it could be psychic manipulation. You know what I mean? For sure.
Yep.
There's so many different things that it could be.
Yeah.
I'd like to play with one so that I could see, but I just, like I said, I haven't had the chance. I went to the Spirit Board Museum in Salem.
Yeah.
And that was really, really cool. I really
Dana won't let me play with one. It's not fair. Like I've got a collection. I've got 4 that I've taken from cases, and she won't let me
Very
use
cool.
them. It's not fair. It's bullshit. So
Well,
That could be a show.
what's that?
people.
Jeff playing with
That
the
would be a good show. Oh, mix that with the Power Hour. Oh,
Yeah,
Whoa.
that's a show. The Ouija board Power Hour, where we
Oh, I
take a
like
drink.
that.
We do a shot of beer every 60 seconds for an hour and play with the Ouija board. That's content.
well, one of the things I would tell people if they're looking to learn more is definitely go and learn a little bit about energy. You
Yeah.
know, energy is an important thing. Even in parapsychology, they did a lot of studies that proved that a lot of poltergeist activity is actually caused by adolescents in your house, teenagers, especially female teenagers. Sorry, guys. As they're going through puberty and everything, that their energy is so strong and shifted in the house that it actually causes things to move.
Mhm.
And it's been a study for a long time in parapsychology.
Yep. And that's, really, let's be honest, like actual studies don't take place much in the paranormal community.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? The studies are poo-pooed because, my ghost app went off. You know what I mean? That's really the overall state of where we're at.
Right.
It's the sensationalism, the likes, the videos, the cool stuff has really overshadowed any actual scientific study.
Hey, I tell everybody in these groups, if you have something that is possibly paranormal, I am going to be the first person to point it out, and I'm going to be excited about it.
Yes. Yep.
Because people tell us all the time, "Oh, why are you in here if you don't believe anything?" Well, of course I believe.
We're not
something.
here because
Well,
we
I-
don't believe. That's
Right.
not why we're
Yep.
in these groups, and that's not why we do what we do.
I've seen way too much to not believe. I mean, honestly. And
Exactly.
but it hasn't been recorded in a scientific way. Like I've day 2 of my professional career, and I just say that very, very loosely, I saw a girl get choked out. Like for real. There were fingerprints on her neck, and she went down in this it's a bad place in Toledo. Ghost hunters came here and whatever did a show on it, but it's known to be a very, very bad place. She legit got choked out, went down. Like, I can't prove that was paranormal, but I'm telling, why else would she have fingerprints on her throat and then went down?
But
you know.
the best evidence is never captured. That's the
Right.
If you want,
Exactly. Yep.
you want.
It was
if you're
captured on
paranormal-
camera, It was
Yes.
captured on camera, but there was no scientific equipment to prove that that's what.
Okay.
You know,
But
so.
most things don't even get captured on the camera. If that's
Yeah,
what I
for
tell
sure.
people all the time.
Yep.
It's like, oh,
You
I'm
know-
changing my batteries, or
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
always
Mhm.
Yep.
Or they've been drained. You know,
Yeah.
in the instances where I was at, where it had a real orb, it pulled the energy in the room and it drained every camera and everything in there. You know.
Mhm. Yep.
The only other thing I want to touch on real quick before
Yep.
you go, if
Yep.
you want to cut it, is
Do it.
this is opening up to a big thing, but I
Oh,
want to
shoot.
throw one thing out there: EVPs. So that could be its own show, and I know, but
Yes.
I tell people it's always, if you ask most investigators, it's their go-to evidence is an EVP.
Mhm.
And I always say that if I had one piece of equipment, I'd grab a recorder and that would
Yep.
be it.
Yep.
But you have to learn how the recorders work. You have to understand that every sound that comes out of those recorders is not something. And now, when you get a whole bunch of garbled noise, could it be something? It absolutely could be. We have no idea. But if you can't make it out clearly, do not consider it evidence.
Yep.
You know, a lot of the recorders, they spit out a lot of stuff. I use them myself, and they do spit out a lot of noise at times. And it's fine to use as long as you can understand what is real. What most people say, how to get a Class A EVP, is if you hear something, don't say anything and go to at least 2 to 3 other people that are there with you. Play it in their ear and have them whisper to you what they heard. If everybody comes up with the same word, that's a Class A EVP.
Mhm.
Because once you say it, they're going to hear it.
Yeah.
And that's just how it works. It's audio pareidolia. It's just how it works, you know. But as long as you can determine the difference between something very clear and a bunch of static and noise, then EVPs are definitely the best evidence. What do you guys think?
I agree with that, Bill. I really do.
for sure.
Mhm.
For sure.
No, we lost the host.
Cut and run.
No, you didn't. You didn't lose me. No, I agree with that too. Like you said.
I carry a digital voice recorder around with me a lot. I just happen to have it because you never know when you're having a power emergency, So
Yeah. Yep.
it's easy. It's easy to carry around with you, and you can plug it into at least mine, plug it into the computer, and it's cool when you can see, you hear it and you see it, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. I've had one of the best pieces of evidence that I had. It manipulated the recorder and it sounded computerized, and it was like, get out. But it was
Oh my
like
God.
computerized sound.
Yep.
It was really cool.
Right.
So a buddy of mine has this whole file that he's given me of EVPs that sound alien
Mm.
because they have like this robotic sound to them.
Yeah, that's what this was. It was weird.
Yes. So he's got this whole file that he gave me. I probably shouldn't have said it on a national show, but it's super secret. But
Not anymore.
no, but I've heard these things. There's a different sound to these EVPs. Like it's like, what the hell's going? It's like in a metallic tunnel where it's all bouncing around. It's crazy. But that's not what my favorite is this recorder, this little Black Olympus.
Mm.
These are
I have that too.
I love this one.
Yeah, that's my favorite one.
Yep. But it doesn't the DR60, is that what it is? The Panasonic Classic.
Yeah.
Isn't that known
right.
to come up with some?
I wasn't going to go there, but I'm going to. All right, I'll go there.
Let's go there. I'm gonna,
So I have one, and that's what I was kind of talking about a little bit.
Yep.
DR60 is considered like the holy grail of ghost hunting to most people, mostly because it was pushed on TV, and there's a lot of myths behind the DR60, and does it work? Yeah, it absolutely works. It's a recorder. Any recorder works. And I have gotten some of the clearest EVPs I've ever gotten on a DR60. So it does work. But the thing about a DR60 is it's fantastic for TV. It's fantastic for YouTube because 99% of the time it produces something. It's a lot of staticky noise, garbage. And like I said, could it be something? It could be, but you can't make it out. So anybody who has a show likes to use these recorders. That's why they go for $5,000 on eBay now. For a $30 or $25. Yeah, it's like a $30 or $50
Right.
recorder.
Yeah.
The thing is, the myth behind it is that back in the day, I think it was 1998, when Panasonic came out with the device, people started returning them saying that they were getting voices coming through it. That's the myth. So then they did it. They took it in at whatever reason, and they did a study on it, and they checked it out. And they actually have, if you look out there hard enough, you'll find the actual press release from Panasonic. Now, of course, it does not mention ghosts and voices, but it just says that they determined there was a flaw in the mechanics of the recorder and something inside causing it to record the inner workings of the actual recorder sometimes. And that's
Oh,
what
wow.
a lot of the static is.
Yep.
So they did publicly come out with that.
Mhm.
Now, does that mean that it's all fake? No. If any of you have heard the clip where that actually I got something attached to me after the Riddle House where it said he's dead directed straight at me, that actually talked over somebody else's voice.
Yeah.
It's clear as day. There's no way that was static
Mhm.
from the inner workings of it.
Yep.
But is it the holy grail of ghost hunting equipment? No. And there's a lot of people, even Kenny Biddle did a whole thing on it, debunking it completely. But
Mhm.
there's a lot. Again, it's just knowing what's real coming out of it. Should you
Mhm.
get one? If you want to spend thousands, get one. Is it gonna?
But this works well too.
It
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
A lot cheaper.
And
Yeah,
you can't transfer the audio files off the DR60, can you?
No,
there's-
I
there's
record.
no
You
way.
got to record
Oh,
them.
wow.
You got to record them with your phone. And
Oh,
there,
okay.
I think there is a way. It does have a headphone jack, and there is a way to manipulate it somehow through the headphone jack to put it in. But I've never even been able to figure it out. And I'm a tech. I didn't even bother with it.
Bill can't figure it out. Then forget
Yeah,
it.
I
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah.
I tried it a couple times, didn't work. I gave up.
Yeah.
But usually I'll take the recorder, like my phone or something else, and just record the actual thing playing. That's
Yeah.
the only bad part about it, is that you don't have it
Yep.
the 100% quality that it was originally.
Because you got a
and they have
recording of a
horrible
recording.
speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have horrible speakers on them.
Yep. Yep.
And they
That's-
work by voice activation. So that's one of the things that people go by. It's like they sit there and you can watch it go, so you know that something is talking and it's recording. But again, it's you can adjust the sensitivity on the microphone.
Yeah.
And it will pick up. It's pretty sensitive, So if you have a fan on, and even if you have it on low sensitivity, it's gonna pick up the noise, just a little bit of noise from the fan, where it's just gonna constantly record nothing.
Yeah.
But it has a lot of junk on it. But
Mhm.
but can it do clear ones? Absolutely. We have
Yeah.
some of the best ones from it. I can't deny that.
Well, we're looking at 9:43, so I think we got to wrap this up. I said this like 25 minutes ago, but, but no,
we can go
you
for
know,
a few hours.
yeah, we definitely, anybody rewatching this show, the first half hour sucked, and that's my fault. but then we got into a rhythm, and it's I think it's been a good show. I think we
I think so too.
debunked a lot of stuff, thrown out some education, thrown out why we're not snobs. This stuff really affects people. This
It does.
Yeah. And I am here
fake stuff.
anytime if somebody wants to send me a message and they have a picture, they have a question.
Yeah.
Yes, send
Feel
Bill your
free.
marks.
I don't. Yeah, I don't, but just be prepared for what I might tell you.
Yeah. I've always told people, like, don't ask the question if you don't want the answer.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
seriously. Like, and we're not mean, we're not being nasty. It's just like, listen, we've done this for a long time. So we've seen thousands of photos. We've seen thousands of spider webs dangling in front of cameras. Like, I'm telling you, that's what
Millions
you're
of
showing
pieces
me.
of dust.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Right.
During the day, I'm an IT director, so I've been in the technology field for 30 years.
Yep.
So I know a lot about technology and how everything works, and it's a lot of what I go by.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm a shaman, and I work in the spirit world. So
Yep. And Stephanie, you do too. I mean, you've got your psychic abilities and things like that definitely play a part in what what you
Oh,
would
yeah.
You
consider
can look at a
evidence.
picture, you can look at a piece of evidence, and you're just like,
Video,
oh, yeah, that's something. Like you
picture.
can- you
Sometimes
feel
I
it
just
at
need to
some point.
hear somebody's voice.
Yep.
And
Mm.
stuff can come through. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's amazing what you can get through
You-
energy wise.
The people in my office.
Yeah.
She
People
picks
in
up
my
on-
house.
Yeah.
Shh. I don't
Yeah.
make house calls.
Yeah. So anyway, let's wrap this up and just, if
Yeah.
anybody has, if anybody has any paranormal issues, visit our website and fill the get help form. If anybody is interested in becoming a member, it's, the same website. There's contact us, and it's, what is it? I think become a member tab or something like that. But just know this, we're looking for residential investigators. We're not like, so if your experience is 100% like, on these ghost hunts and things like that, like, just, I'm not saying that to be conceited, but don't apply, because you're
It's
probably not going
different.
to get it.
It was-
Yes,
It's a different beast.
Yeah.
it's a very different beast.
Get
It's very,
get
very
some
different.
experience in that.
Yes.
And then come back
Yep.
and apply.
I really wish we had a mentor program. Like, to be honest with you, if somebody like in my city applied that has done nothing but ghost hunts and I felt they were good, I would take them on because I can mentor them personally. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like the problem is we are so spread out, so we don't have a good mentor program, to where it's hard to mentor somebody that's 300 miles away.
Maybe
Yeah.
sometime later down the road,
Exactly.
I've taken people on my team that had no experience in
Yeah.
residential.
Yep.
But they're with me. They're not going on a
Yeah.
case without me.
Right. Exactly. So there's that. So there again, let's wrap this up. I think it was a good show.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Yeah, you too. It
Let's-
was a good show.
I should edit the first half hour and just like ignore that. But no, it ended up being good. So it's all good. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us, and thank you guys for being guests. Or you're not guests, you're part of the foundation, so you're part of it. But you know what I
we're
mean.
participating.
Exactly. You're professional witnesses. Let's put it that way.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah, thank you.
Kelly.
It's
Bye.
always a great time.
Yeah,
Rosanna,
this is
Nicole.
always the awkward part, like the ending, because
Like,
you hit
What do I do
end
with my hands?
broadcast. Yeah, exactly. Jazz hands.